Hi everyone, welcome back to the PrideJam Helsinki 2021 stream. We are just about to start our panel on breaking into the game industry. This panel is produced in collaboration with Wien Games Finland, and we have a really cool lineup coming up. And I think we could invite in Lisha Pren, who will be the panel moderator.
Hello.
Hello there, Lisha. How are you feeling today?
I'm good. I just got my hair done, so I'm feeling very, very bright. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, and your hair is looking fantastic. It's really lovely and pink and bright. It's
I had to squeeze in my appointment before the panel today, so it was a bit tight scheduling, but I made it.
Yeah, looking good.
Thank you.
The panel description is as follows. Are you LGBTQIA+ and interested in a career in the Finnish game industry or the game industry in general? In this panel, you'll hear other members of our community share their experiences of working in games and offer you tips and advice on how you can jumpstart your career in one of the most inclusive industries in Finland.
That's true.
Yes. Are you excited?
Yeah, definitely. I think we have a really good panel. I'm really excited to hear what everyone has to say, and I really, really hope that all the viewers at home or wherever they are in this world are enjoying it too. So yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah. Do you want to do a quick intro to what is Wien Games?
So Wien Games Finland is an association that advocates for more diversity and inclusion within the Finnish game industry. So we really focus on people who are either studying to work in games or who already work in games or who are trying to become involved with the Finnish game industry to help them feel empowered and to help them feel visible. And then on the other side of that, we also work with companies and people already in the industry to help make things more inclusive, more diverse, and to be experts in the field of diversity and inclusion. And we have people from all kinds of backgrounds, all different nationalities and races and sexual and gender backgrounds. So we are a very diverse group of people, and we aim to bring diversity to the forefront of the game industry. And I think the Finnish game industry has come a long way. Even since like in the 6 years that I've been in it, I think things have changed a lot. I think they're constantly going in a really good direction, but I think there's still more work to be done. So that's why we're here.
Yeah, and I'm super honored to have you all here, and it's wonderful, and I hope our jammers also will have a good time. I will be for Twitch watchers. I will be calling out your questions and comments when you, Lisha, ask for them.
Yes.
But I will stop my camera, and then we can get our panelists on board.
Yes, so let's have our panelists come in. I'd love to have them here.
Yes, all right. Let's start.
Yay, hello panelists.
Hello.
So to keep this as natural as possible, I think it would make sense for everyone to maybe go and introduce themselves just very briefly, who they are, their pronouns, and what they do, or what is their connection to the game industry. Whoever wants to start. Actually, no, I'll start because I haven't done that myself yet. Hi, I'm Lisha Pren. My pronouns are they, them, and I'm a PX specialist at Next Games. I'm also an accessibility advocate. In the past, I was a producer, so I've done quite a lot of different things within the realm of mobile gaming. I'm also a voice actor and a radio host at Finest FM. So that's me. So anyone who wants to go next, please go next.
Well, I guess I'll go next then. So hello everyone, I'm Daniel. I currently work at Veikkaus as a game programmer, and I'm pretty new in the game industry overall. So I just started like last summer. So I'm very excited to be here and share my experiences.
Welcome, Daniel.
Thank you.
Who's next?
I can be the one. So I'm Susanna Viljanmaa. I'm working as a freelance voice actress and audio and music designer and music producer. And I started initially in, I think, 95, and now I'm currently working with Harhama Games.
Welcome, Susanna.
I can go next. Hi, I'm Caroline, Caro, she, they, whichever you prefer. And I've been a game artist, I think from the beginning of the 2000s-ish, and now finally got my education. So I'm an educator and teach games in Helsinki Business College at the moment.
Amazing. Welcome, Carol. 2 more. Who wants to go next?
Let's see if my mic works now. Does it work?
It does. We hear you loud and clear.
Whoa! And on that note, I am the lead audio producer for next game. My name is Anni Tolvanen. She, her. What else was there? I got so confused with my mic suddenly not working.
Anything you want to introduce yourself with?
I think this chaos will do for now. Let's get back to the more professional business after the introduction round.
You're doing great. You're doing great. All right. Thank you, Anni.
And me, I'm Joaquin. I'm from Uruguay, moved to Finland last year. And I've been working in games for the last 3 years in small-scale games as a freelancer, as a game designer, and teaching visual communication at the university back in Uruguay, or the university. And I'm in Finland doing my master's. So after some work, I decided to take a master's studies. And I'm really happy to be here. And he, him would be my pronouns.
Amazing. Well, we're super happy to have you here. So thanks for the introductions, everybody. So my first question for everyone today is, what made you choose a career either in the game industry or adjacent to the game industry? And I'm going to just pick who's the closest to my picture on the screen to answer first, and then you can all jump in as you choose. So Karol, what made you choose the game industry or game adjacent work?
The pure wonder of it, like as a teen, I was playing World of Warcraft, the beginning of 2000s, and my mind was blown. Like, why am I learning all these patterns and components in this game and completely failing my classes? So there we go. That's why I wanted to know what's the magic behind games.
Daniel, does that resonate with you at all?
Yeah, definitely. I was a bit of a late bloomer when it comes to playing games, so I started in my teens, but at the same time I started learning to make games at the same time. So it was a nice sort of a weird experience to sort of at the same time learn how to make them, but also sort of experiencing new games and the whole game sort of concept. And I would say that, yeah, definitely sort of I really like the creative aspects of games. And as a programmer, of course, I need to write the logic and stuff like this, but there's also a very creative part of it. And that's something I really like.
That is so true. Anni, what about you?
So I played tabletop role-playing games since my early teens, and then live role-playing games as well, and of course computer games, shit tons of computer games. I never thought that I might find a job in the games industry. I was studying music, and I just thought that I would end up being some miserable music teacher. No offense to music teachers, they are wonderful, but that just wasn't for me. I did a ton of teaching, and I kind of knew that I didn't want to do that forever. But then I just started through the live role-playing games, the international live role-playing games community. And part of it is through those circles, Nordic LARP specifically as a genre, started doing sound design for the LARPs and realized that I'm actually pretty okay at this. And then because I knew a lot of people who work in games industry, then I eventually got some games industry gigs as well. So it all happened very organically, and suddenly I was sort of living the dream, so to say. So it's a very good example of from a position where I would never have guessed that I would end up working for the industry, still ending up working for the industry, which I wanted to do. I just never thought that I would have the chance.
Susanna, does that resonate with you at all? Because your background is extremely varied.
Yeah, I will always been interested in the creative field in both oral and visual arts. Because of the demo scene, I happen to know plenty of people in game design world, so it's been a a world that's closer to me than, for example, the advertisement industry. I was shortly working as a graphic artist in a game development startup in '95, creating a Conan the Barbarian themed game for Amiga and later for PC. But it never got published, and I got an impression that it's a tough and competitive business, and it's kind of a vocation. And although I started playing computer games at 3 years old in 1982, I kind of felt that I had grown out of games, and they started to repeat themselves after 20 years of playing in 2003. And I stopped playing games completely for more than a decade. And that happened just before online gaming hit big and a little before the Gamergate phenomenon. And playing together with unknown toxic people suddenly didn't feel very welcoming either, being a survivor of severe bullying and violence throughout my youth. And my attitude changed a little when I got a chance to voice acting for a graphical adventure game called Iron Sky: A Lunar Adventure in 2018. I had just transitioned into a woman and I was looking after a female role, but the crew noticed that I have the skills to act any role, and they liked my male voice, and they prompted me to act as a male science Nazi. And I was okay with it, since that role had a lot more lines in total. And I also got to work as the audio designer of the game and getting some money out from it as well. And now I've got a new project. Again, I'm acting both female and male lead roles, and I get to produce some music as well.
Well, you are an amazing vocal talent, so it's no wonder for me that they chose you for that. What about you, Joaquin?
Yeah, I relate with what Daniel said. Like, I didn't play games as a kid. Actually, I saw them, my friends, my brothers would play, but I was more like into playing with Barbies and Legos and playing outside. That was my thing, building stuff. And yeah, so as a teenager, I actually got into games. But to make this story short, like as a kid, I met a game designer when I lived in the States. So I was a young kid and I saw someone making games. I was like, wait, what? People make these? It's not like something that just comes in a box. And I was like, yeah, cool. I didn't think much of it, but as a teenager, when I started thinking, in high school, like, what are you going to do? What's going to be your life? And I started to get into games. I was like, wait, I met someone that made these games. I can make those games, I guess. So yeah, I think it's super important to show young kids that this is a career path, especially now. It's really, really, really possible to make games, and we should be like teaching that at school. We should be showing that this is another career path, and it's a huge industry. It's bigger than any other medium. And yeah, I'm just lucky, I guess, that I met someone that made games and inspired me to continue. And as everybody said, I love games. As a teenager, when I started seeing like, oh, how does this work? What is going behind the scene here? I noticed some patterns, like, wait, someone made these decisions. Oh, it's like that guy I met. Well, this is the career path I want. And yeah, here I am.
That is so relatable. When I was a kid, I thought all video games came from Japan. So I similarly had a very big revelation at some point that, like, wait a minute, games are made everywhere. So we're currently in PrideJam, and we are celebrating today. I think today is the main day of Helsinki Pride, isn't it? So Pride is all around us. I have a double-parted question for you all now, and I'm going to start with the positive part, and then I'll get to the negative part later. The positive part of this question is, I would love to know, of all the places you work or study, or the places where you currently work or study, what are some of the best things that your school or your company or your coworkers have done to be supportive of your LGBTQIA+ identity? Whoever wants to take this one first can take it.
I can make it jump in. So at Next Games, first of all, when I joined the company, the whole process of when I was recruited, I felt that it was a very kind of an equal opportunity environment overall. It just overall got a very good vibe, which was then, of course, later on confirmed through the fact that Next Games, for example, has put a lot of effort into having especially like female representation, I think the percentages are much higher than the average games industry percentages. I don't have the actual numbers, but I've seen them. They exist. Also at Next, we a while back we started a Alicia probably also like knows and is part of like this diversity group, where the idea is that a group of people who wanted to volunteer for that group can give feedback for management and also kind of initiate ideas that would make the company even more like inclusive and point towards, and especially like point towards things that are not necessarily obvious if you are, say, a white straight male. And the third initiative that I'd like to mention is that we also ran this game developer academy a while back, and we are actually now, there is an open recruitment for another round of the Game Developer Academy. So if you're interested in a paid internship for developer gig at Next Games that might lead to a permanent contract, go check it out. And I was part of producing the first round of it, and I'm also part of producing the second round, also in a slightly smaller role this time. And one of our goals for the Game Developer Academy, definitely, if it's possible, is to make sure that the group that will get picked to the Developer Academy has a wide variety of representation. Of course, that is dependent on the kind of candidates we get. So if you are a budding game developer and would feel this is your thing, go apply. That's my bit.
I second that. I think Next is an amazing place to work if you are a member of our community or any diverse community. And I am an active member of our diversity group. So if you trust me, then trust me, I guess. Who else would like to chime in on this discussion?
Yeah, I would definitely agree with Ann in the way that sort of where you work and sort of who you work with is extremely important. Like it's sort of the main thing that I look for when I'm looking for work. Having sort of a comfortable and fun experience at work is like the number one priority for me. And I would say that at Veikkaus, I felt like I was welcomed immediately. There was like nothing weird, and I felt like I fit in. I don't know about like for example other sort of more classic game studios like Next Games, but I would say that Veikkaus is a very big company, but sort of the sort of mini community that we have at the sort of game studio, that's like, I don't know, 50 persons. Pretty much everyone feels like a friend, and that's what I really like about sort of working in games. Like we have this sort of inclusivity and sort of community. That's really nice.
That's great to hear. Would anyone else like to add anything, or should we go to the next question?
Well, in the current project with Harhama Games, we're making a game with some LGBT characters. So we have several authors who are members of the community as well. And although I'm not hired as a writer, I've been working on the dialogue, and I haven't found anything to complain about the LGBT plus representation or other minorities either. And I have consulted some other minorities inside my contact network to ensure that the representation of them is positive as well.
That's awesome. Karo or Joaquin, do you have anything to add?
What Susanna just said sounds really awesome. I just wanted to chime in that I haven't been in my current workplace for a long time, but what I've been really positively surprised about is we have surveys, anonymous surveys, like every 3 months within the employees, but also the students, where you can give feedback if a teacher is teaching oddly or really positively, or between ourselves or between the students. So I've noticed that the results of those anonymous surveys, since they are quite open, they've helped us a lot, like adjusting, for example, the power struggle between teachers and students. I don't like it. I don't want it to exist, but students feel it exists, and we are trying to dismantle it. So, yeah.
Those surveys sound like a fantastic idea. Joaquin, do you have anything to add?
No, very shortly, maybe. Back home, teaching in the video game animation and video game bachelor's, I taught visual communication this course. And one thing I liked about Ort University back home is it's very non-bureaucratic in some aspects, maybe not in others, but in some. So being able to let students choose their pronouns, their names, and change it on the documentation, not only on the how do you want me to talk to you, but on the paperwork without the legal background first, because that takes a long time. It's, yeah, you come to study with an open head, and your students, your fellow students also, and your teachers, nobody's gonna make a mistake. You're gonna be whoever you choose to be. And I think that's super important. And I hope and I expect that from companies also, but also from all educational institutions, because if not, people really shy away from participating in the community if there's not this structures in place to make it like a safe space and make it a inclusive space. So yeah, that was a happy experience. And now I'm studying it out, and I also feel that Auto is very, very inclusive in how it communicates the official, how do you say, the official communication from the school. You have the here in Finland, the amazing language, Finnish, that is gender neutral. So that also translates into English when they do the English communication. And I feel that's amazing.
It is definitely cool. And thank you for your answer. So I mentioned when I asked the first part of this question that the first part was positive and the second part is a little bit more negative. And the second part is, how do you deal with potential negativity at work regarding your identity? And do you have any advice to give to people about processing negativity, reporting negativity, or bullying, and so on? Whoever wants to answer this can. I know this is a very tough topic, so please don't feel pressured to answer.
I could say something. This is not necessarily the answer you're looking for, like the best possible answer, but I think it all starts from pick your battles, in a sense, even though that's sort of a rough thing to say. Because the sad fact is that we're still living in a world that is not where we are not done with battling for equality. And I have learned it the hard way that there are like just battles you have to know how far to push in any given environment, because so first of all, when you encounter any kind of oppression or bullying or whatnot, try to reach out for second and third opinions inside the company. If you have trusted people, talk to your friends, talk to outsiders, and then think about your options. Like, what are your options, how to go forward? And in optimal circumstances, your company or the environment where you're working will have some structures how to handle that situation. And of course, in an ideal world, you will just then contact an HR person or whomever, or like some representative, and then that thing gets dealt with, and then everything will be well afterwards. But it's also very, very important to recognize that there are battles that you will personally come out of the whole thing more whole if you manage to kind of avoid the confrontation and do something else instead. And I know that this might sound somewhat discouraging, but I think this coin has sort of two sides, as in we should absolutely push for more equality where we can, but it's very also healthy for just self-care purpose to remember that it's not an but like it shouldn't be anybody's individual fight. And it's if you find yourself in those circumstances where it feels like that you are fighting alone against a very oppressive system, that then it's not your responsibility to win that fight. And I hope that I didn't discourage anybody by saying this, but this is just based on my personal expression that the first and most important thing in dealing with difficult situation is to kind of evaluate, pick a strategy, and like pick your battles.
I think that's amazing advice. Does anyone have anything to add or comment to that?
I guess I can go then. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much what I was gonna say. I got some it was a very vague advice from my dad when I went to the army, right? So he said that you will meet all kinds of people, and that's it. He said nothing else, and I was like, huh, well, of course I will meet all kinds of people. But then, of course, later when I was there, I sort of started to understand what he meant. And yeah, there's definitely some people that or some battles that you just kind of have to ignore, just shake it off and sort of move on. But for you personally to be able to handle that, you need sort of others you can reach out to for support and stuff. And there needs to be some form of system that you can report the incident to if you'd like to, and stuff like this. But yeah, it's important to remember that especially the workplace should be a place where you enjoy yourself. And if something like this happens, then yeah, look for teammates and friends. I would definitely encourage that. Because some people you can of course try to sort of, if they say something insensitive, they might not sort of understand what they've done. It might not be meant to be mean or anything. So then you of course can try to sort of correct them or sort of inform them of stuff. But usually I sort of just shake it off. Thanks.
That's great advice. Thank you so much. Does anyone else want to add anything? All right, so that actually leads me to my next question for you all. And I think Anni in some ways has already answered this, so has Daniel, but what is one piece of advice that you wish you would have had when you joined the game industry that you have, of course, knowledge of now? Anyone can answer.
Maybe I can start.
Sure.
Yeah, so I think a good piece of advice is that it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. So it's going to take time. You're going to do a lot of kinds of works, and don't expect immediate results. Just put in the hours and work towards it. And I can add a little bit extra to that. Even though technically you could do everything alone, there are solo developers, there are people that do a game by themselves and everything. Don't. Find people, find a community, find friends, find developers. You don't have to best friends. You can just meet them and share knowledge, share experiences. But you will also make friends if you open up. Try to, even though it's hard sometimes, because we all sometimes are a bit introvert, a bit too much introvert some other times. But try to meet people, because this is a community. The games industry is a big community, and it's very welcoming, especially here in Finland. I've noticed it's very, very horizontal. So just walk around and meet people. And right now we can't, maybe because of COVID, but as soon as it's back and there are these events, there are communities online, go out there and meet people and make stuff together. That's I guess the biggest advice I could have given myself back then. That is, don't try to do everything by yourself. Just go. The people you meet at game jams, at events, those people actually, you end up working with them if you continue to talk, if you continue to share your passion. They're gonna feed it back to you.
Oh man, now that you mentioned events, I started missing IGDA.
Yeah, I think everyone misses IGDA.
Yeah.
I heard about that event. I wish.
That's amazing advice, Joaquin. Thank you so much.
I would like to add, like in the same theme here, 2 pieces of advice. one, don't impress. Like, my mistake was doing a lot of art in the beginning. Like, I'm a powerhouse. I will do this week's worth of work in a day because I'm impressive. Don't. You will burn out. It's no fun. Like, find your real rhythm, your real timing. If something takes 4 days, take 5 days. Like, don't speed it up. And the second one, because I have a pea brain, I forgot. So let's go with that one.
I'm sorry for my movements here. The cat has decided that now is the exact time that she would like my attention. Right now. But thank you for the advice, Karo. Does anyone else have anything to add, or should we move on to the next question?
Well, this one is a little difficult for me to answer since I've only been participating as a freelancer and I haven't worked doing it as a day job. And it's been quite difficult for me to get a permanent contract with gaming companies. Although I have a lot of experience, they expect me to have several years of worth of game development. And they don't value the experience I got from demo scene or other projects that really have a lot of common in the gaming development. And I think I still need that advice because it's been difficult to get into. And the projects I've gotten to do so far have always been really easy to do. No big problems at all. And all of us have been happy. But it's difficult to find the projects so far.
I think you have a great chance, though. I think you have such a varied background that I fully believe in you. And actually, your comment is a really good segue into my next question, which is, some people sometimes feel like they might not fit into the game industry. And what would you say to someone whose prime concern is really just not fitting in because of their sexual or gender identity or any other reason?
Can I step in?
Yes.
Because something that I was thinking already during the previous question, and this is sort of my answer for both in a sense, is that it's good to give one of the advice that I would want to have, and it also applies to this feeling of not fitting in, is give yourself credit to the unexpected strengths that you have. Because game industry, and I think this applies to most professional environments, quite frankly, we need different kinds of people. That is just a fact, with different kinds of skills. And people who come from different kinds of background and have done different kinds of stuff professionally and both as hobbies and whatnot, they all bring their own unique set of talent. And turns out that if you have run around in a Polish castle ruin, hiding out like loudspeakers to make the castle sound like a 500-year-old vampire nest for 200 people, there is certain set of skills that you learn that are totally applicable in a games project. And it's not just about that I did the sound design, it's about managing deadlines and working in a big international with a big international team and making creative decisions. And these are the kinds of skills that, if you have done that kind of content in any environment, you can absolutely apply those skills in the games industry as well. And that also applies to identity questions, that if you as a person have had to go through a lot of introspections on your own identity and how you relate to others, that probably makes you a good team worker, or it can make a lot of people good team workers. It makes you good at communicating with different people and varied teams. So whatever is part of your history and your identity, try to look all of that as a strength that you can bring to the job, and that is your entrance.
That's fantastic advice. Does anyone else want to add or comment to that?
I'm just gonna applaud and give Susanna the floor. Please go ahead.
The reason that sorry.
Sorry, we also have an audience question at this point.
Oh, does it relate to what we were just discussing, or should we let Susanna go first and then ask?
We can let Susanna go first, and then we can take that question.
Okay, sure.
Okay. So that the reason that I have recently taken part in game design and other challenges as well has been to lift up the LGBT plus representation in whichever way I can. And regarding acting, both in games and in other forms of entertainment as well, there's too little people who are members of the transgender population, and those roles nowadays are expected to be cast for actors and actresses who are transgender themselves. And too often they haven't been able to cast the roles accordingly. And I want to change that, and you can be a part of it as well. Today there are more and more games with characters who belong to the several minorities, and you have a chance to not only fill those roles, but try to make the representation more positive.
That's amazing advice. Let's take that chat question now then.
All right. The question goes, as a LGBTQIA plus person of disability, I love that the inclusiveness gets better for us LGBTQIA plus. Sadly, often with beautiful words about inclusiveness, people of disability are forgotten. It reflects to the games made. Typically, a person of disability buys a game just to realize that, oh, once again, a game that I can't play because of my disability. Is the industry open for game creators who have a disability, plus the game making skills, and could bring some extra POV to the game accessibility? And also, is accessibility inclusiveness something that is thought of on the industry actively, or is it, like in so many other industries, something that is found a taboo or at least too much extra work?
Was this accidentally a question for me? I'm moderating, but I feel like I'm the person here that's best qualified to answer that.
Yes, please go ahead.
No offense if anyone else here is disabled. I'm very sorry if I'm not aware of that. But yeah, so I'm blind. And accessibility is obviously something that matters a lot to me. And being blind and LGBTQIA+, it is also very stressful sometimes. The answer to that question is yes and no. No, things are not as inclusive as they should be. Accessibility is not thought of as much as it could be. However, things are changing all the time and for the better. For example, at Next Games, all of my coworkers are super eager to ask me about accessibility. I get messages all the time in Slack asking, hey, what do you think of this and what do you think of that now that I work there? And I think before I joined the team, people had these questions, but they just didn't know from who they can ask. And I think that is why it's imperative that we get more disabled people hired into these roles, because I think that once we are part of the team, and especially if we have, not to toot my own horn, but open attitudes and are willing to be patient and answer the same 5 questions over and over again, no offense to anybody, I think we can make a really big difference. And I think more and more companies, at least on paper, are saying that they care more about being inclusive, making their hiring processes more inclusive, for example. So I think it's now more acceptable than ever and more possible than ever to be both disabled and working in the game industry. And I think the game industry is one of the few industries in Finland where being disabled is honestly not, people will not think about it as much, especially now during the times of remote work, when our accommodations and, physical accessibility needs can be more easily met by ourselves in our own home, in our own, safe place in that sense. I think it's easier than ever. So I think if you are disabled and you're concerned, your concerns are not unfounded, your fear is valid, and your experiences until this point are also valid, but you should still try and you should still not give up, because there are companies out there who will be willing to value you for your skills and for your knowledge, and not for arbitrary things about can you see or not, can you walk or not, or whatever else. So don't give up. And there are some of us out there working in the industry being both gay and disabled. Hi, how are you? If anyone wants to add to that, they can.
Thank you for that answer. I can't see it. Yeah, there we go. The question was for all. I didn't know that you, Lisha, have also a disability. Yes. I myself have dysmelia. Ellis Oumuamua says, What you told is so interesting and helpful.
I'm glad I can help. So if anyone else here is disabled, feel free to chime in. Otherwise, we can move on to the next question that I need to look at. Sorry.
I have some disabilities, and many of them are quite invisible or minimal compared to those that you were talking about, and they are mostly neurological and some movement impairments. And usually I don't get to deal with them when playing games, but one of them is that I usually have a problem understanding some talk and trying to decipher that. Even, for example, if it's spoken unclearly or if it's inside a mess of other background noise. And I usually appreciate if there's some subtitles over the video. And I think that nowadays it's mostly taken care of. And regarding work, I guess that people are nowadays able to deal with that kinds of things in the companies, but I didn't have that much of experience about gaming companies. So I guess that the rest of you could elaborate more on that if you have an experience.
Please do chime in if anyone has anything.
I would like to sort of recommend a game sort of that surprised me very much. It's named Code 7. I can post a link later in Discord, but sort of the developers, they're apparently from German or something, and they sort of they're indie developers, and they really wanted to sort of make the player feel included, and so they have all kinds of sort of settings, and they have sort of thought about the game so that almost anyone can play it, which is like really nice. And I feel like the game industry at least has progressed forward, and on the indie side as well as on sort of bigger companies are starting to take note of colorblindness, of all kinds of sort of accessibility things.
It's better than it's ever been, I would say. So
Yep.
The title of this panel involved the phrase breaking into the industry, but I'm actually curious, and I think our wonderful host was curious because they are the one who came up with this question. In the age of people freelancing and starting their own companies and doing a lot of things solo, as Joaquin mentioned, is there such a thing anymore as breaking in? Is this concept still relevant, and will it continue to be relevant for a long time? Or are we talking about something that's not really a thing anymore? Whoever wants to answer this can answer.
Maybe I can start.
Sure.
So I have been working since graduation for the last 3 years in freelance works, in contract works. Just as Susanna was saying, like I haven't had like a company job. So that feeling of being outside, of not having broken into the industry, is something that I've struggled with. It's you feel kind of an outsider. You don't feel you have a permanent job in the industry. But that also changed when I started to talk with people, to see what people are doing, to see what kind of projects everybody has and the passion everybody has. The same passion I had for my projects, but I wasn't giving it the value I should have. So in 2018, I went to GDC for the first time, and I was amazed at people from 343 industries working on side projects, small like indie things for like really small stuff, and like people from Naughty Dog also I met at a bar. It's like, yeah, I have this like small phone game, and I looked at those games and was like, wait, that's like on the level of what we're doing. That's not like something crazy. And it's like I kind of made a click that I personally don't think like breaking in has that much meaning anymore. What should be like thought of is like, are you putting in the hours? Are you putting in the work? Are you actually putting in the passion and dedication and commitment to your projects? Even if they're personal, if there's no monetary gain, if it's just for a competition, if you're sending stuff out there, if you're showing it, if you're putting it on itch.io and stuff, and like actually making stuff. If you're actually pushing towards your career, I think you're already broke into the industry, and it's give value to all that work you're doing. So as my personal experience, I have felt outside the industry for so long. You at one point you have to say like, okay, I've gotten paid, I'm doing this jobs, I'm putting stuff out there, I won some competition. It's like, yeah, you've broken into industry. I don't know how the rest see it and how your experience has been already working at a company. How was it before that, and so on?
That's really valid advice. I think a lot of people tie their definition of breaking in to working at Supercell or working at Remedy, but I think there's lots of different ways to define breaking in. Does anyone else want to add to that?
I kind of battle with this issue, and it's a little odd that I know most of the people who run those game development companies, and still it has been difficult to get into them. And it's weird to be about 42 years old and have a lot of experience, but you're somehow not welcome into those companies. And you only get proposed to do some intern tasks. And at this age, it feels a little stupid to go and start from that point zero.
I understand how frustrating that must feel.
And especially because I had a burnout a few years ago from the ICT industry, and I thought of moving over to the game development industry. And if you're in that position, it's kind of difficult because it's a competitive industry, and you're expected to return more than 100% of yourself. And if you have a limited capacity, it's difficult to stand out in the crowd who are trying to fight for the same position.
That's very true. Does anyone else want to add to what Susanna just said? If not, we'll move on to the next question. What kind of resources do you have, whether it be links or books or bloggers or anything, where people can go to either improve their own skills or improve their confidence or learn more about what it's like to be LGBTQIA+ in the game industry, or any kind of just helpful resources that you think our viewers or other panelists might benefit from?
Can I start?
Yes.
YouTube.
What's that?
I can say with very like a high confidence, like 90-something% of my sound design skills come from YouTube. The rest 10% comes from trying out shit and fucking it up and then learning from it. So whatever it is that you're interested in, somebody out there has probably made a YouTube video on how to do it. And there are a lot of paid contents and courses, like endless amount of paid content and courses. There's so many resources. Like you can get a really high-end professional skill set, like a level of professional skill set, simply via studying free resources out there, almost on any topic whatsoever when it comes to the substance matter itself. And of course, you do need to do stuff also. You cannot just watch the video. You have to actually go and try some of that stuff in practice. And I think it's, on the other hand, it's important to remember, and I think that sort of links to the previous question too, that the substance matters are not necessarily the thing that will eventually get you the job. So there's sort of skills that you can acquire and practice, but then there's also the thing that where the more stuff you do, whether it's voluntary work or paid work, doesn't really matter, the higher your chances of getting that paid job eventually. So that sort of goes also to the, I don't know if it's a resource, I would consider it a resource, just networking is a bit of an horrible concept, but just getting to know people and then doing shit with those people. Like, it doesn't matter what you do, just go and do something. So first go learn stuff from YouTube, and then apply those skills to something that you do with other people, and suddenly you have a CV. And that's what I would recommend for everybody and anybody, regardless of where they come from. And that is the resource. Learning things and then of other people.
I can continue with that, because I definitely agree. Doing stuff together is definitely a really important thing that you can do, sort of to help, not only with sort of the hard skills, whether you are like an artist or a programmer or whatnot, but also the soft skills, like working in a team, working in a group. So in Helsinki we have lots of these sort of club activities, and I've been a part of a game development club in Helsinki for, well, since I was like 14, when I almost immediately after I started learning programming. So I mean, I'll post a link to that as well in Discord. But it's also very LGBTQIA friendly, and it's definitely a great way to sort of get into sort of just doing stuff with other people. And also game jams nowadays, there are like thousands of game jams organized all the time. So just jump in and sort of try whatever you feel like.
It's great advice.
Yeah. Regarding the learning and skill stuff, I've been pretty happy about the commercial studying services right now, because in my day job, I'm creating some educational videos for a company, and I've had to consult some other videos from Udemy and Skillshare, and plenty of them have been really efficient for me to quickly learn some other pieces of software that I haven't used that much. And they're not that expensive if you need to learn some skills really fast and efficiently. And I think that community-wise, we in games has been quite good for me, and I've had some new clients through the We in Games community and their Discord server.
Yay! Does Karo, do you want to add anything to that? Sorry, I'm on cloud 9 after what Susanna just said.
I would love to add well, 2 resources. I'm going to say something that most people will probably throw cans at me, but I'm going to say play games. But however,
Boo! No, I'm kidding.
Oh no!
I'm kidding.
Don't just play your favorite game. Go out and try card games, Munchkin, collect magic cards. Go out and try LARPing. Honest, like it's amazing. Even if you don't like it, try it. Try different games. Go and try your powers at a 40k table and with a tiny borrowed army. You will learn so much more. And then the second one, a little bit down to earth, my favorite site at the moment, Artbreeder. If you have to make concept art really fast, don't burn yourself out. Try Artbreeder as your base.
That's awesome advice. So we have just about 5 minutes left, and I'd like to hopefully get to some either chat comments or questions. But first, does anyone have anything they'd like to plug before we head on over to chat comments and questions? Any plugs, self-promotion, now's your time. Just shout it out.
Well, at Harahama Games, we're still trying to cast new people for being actors and actresses for different parts. And for example, we have some parts for young kids in their teenage years, and we have to find some people who are capable of speaking Finnish and English. And it's quite difficult to find people who are capable to do both of them. And I had to consult my friendship network and our own kids and other people as well, and there are some parts still left. For example, older women and younger kids.
Awesome.
So you can contact me if you're looking for a part.
Sounds really fun.
then I could still remind people, especially if there's somebody who joined this feed later, the next Game Developer Academy is launching again next autumn. So if you have developing skills and you're looking for a paid internship that can turn into an actual job, go look it up. You can find the information from Next Game's career website.
You get to work with me and Onni. Think about that.
We are awesome. We're absolutely awesome.
We are. Karo, Daniel, or Joachim, do you have anything else to add before we get to the chat comments? We have like 1 minute for you, so we can have like 3 minutes for the chat.
Oh, let's just go to the chat, I think.
All right.
May I add one?
Yes.
LARPs, you're interested? Contact me. We have workshops. We have LARP making workshops actually starting this autumn in Tampere region and remote. So give me a poke.
Awesome.
Yeah. So in the chat, we have a few comments regarding the discussion on disabilities. There's from Lumitahti. I have similar challenges and difficulties that Susanna mentioned. Thank you for expressing them. And then we have just a few sad emojis and happy emojis and love for our panelists.
Oh.
Let's see if we get any Q&A questions.
Yes, we have, I would say, about 3 minutes for that because I don't want to keep anyone past 4. So.
Yeah, really interesting discussion to listen in on. I hope you're all feeling good. This has been very, very interesting, and around 30 of our viewers have been around here with you.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Do you have any last-minute advice for our jammers? So we have about 50 jammers at this jam. I think some of you are actually also jamming. I'm looking at you, Caroline. So
I have advice. If you go to S Market after 9 p.m., the stuff that has a minus 30% sticker becomes minus 60%. That's jam advice, but also just like regular life advice. Just S Market after 9 p.m.
Yes. We actually now have a question in our chat. Any tips on trying to break through as an artist? I feel like most positions are for more technical things like programming, etc. I have personal experience with this as well. I switched over to narrative design because finding any starting position in art was really hard. So I guess we have an artist in our midst. Do you, Caroline, have any tips for our jammers?
The only I would have is be a chameleon. The one thing that benefited me the absolutely most to get any freelance work or any work at all in art is learning a style, because it's you have to be really high up on the food ladder to be wanted for your specific style. You will sell a lot of stickers at conventions with a specific style, but being able to copy, for example, the Angry Birds style would land that job or similar.
That's great advice.
It's absolutely excellent advice. I usually give the same portfolio advice to younger artists applying for jobs. Check the studio style, make something in that style to prove that you can work in it.
Yes, that is so valid. I used to work for an animation studio, and we would often get people pitching us portfolios that had content that was beautiful and very well thought out, but just not anything that we could benefit from. So definitely research where you're applying. That goes for any position, really, but especially art. And with that, I think we've come to the end of the panel. It's exactly 4 o'clock. So panelists, thank you all so much for being here. I really appreciate every single one of you. You've all been fantastic. And thank you all for the viewers for watching. And thank you to all of the organizers of Pride Game Jam this year for having us.
Yeah, thank you also on our part from the Pride Game Jam Helsinki 2021. For our speakers, we have sent you a little care package if you signed up with your address, and it should be on the way. So hope it arrives soon.
Presents!
Yes.
Fantastic. All right. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great jam.
Thank you.
All right.
Be touched.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.